Namaskar, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you on board on this online series of Food of India. Today, we have with us Mr. Priyadarshan Lakhawat, who will be taking us on the culinary voyage to Rajasthan. Well, the moment Rajasthan comes to our mind, there are so many things that fascinates us. The forts, palaces, wildlife, museums, lakes, religious places, and much more. You can go for understanding the travel, customs, naturopathy, shows, and what not is there in Rajasthan. Believe me, it's truly an interesting place to visit, a must place to visit, which is not merely rich in terms of its cultural heritage, but also a vibrant tourist destination. How amazingly incredible India promotes Rajasthan as a destination. And being a student of hospitality and tourism, the moment Rajasthan comes to my mind, I think about kachoris, which are stuffed flatbreads with spicy, sweet, and savory stuffing of potatoes, onions, and other spices. If you travel to Jaipur or Jodhpur, one goes crazy after kachoris. And today it's rain showers happening at Rohtak. I'm sure monsoons have been welcomed in different parts of India. And the moment it's a season of monsoons, all of us are keen to relish the mouth-watering ghevar, which is a traditional dessert of Rajasthan, shaped like a disc and has a honeycomb pattern made of maida, ghee, and interestingly, ice is used in its preparation technique, and the batter is dipped in piping hot oil or ghee and fried. Well, if you are having a taste for non-vegetarian food, Safed Mas is a traditional and interesting delicacy from Rajasthan. And should you wish to savor delicacy curry prepared with gram flour, yes, mouth-watering gatte ki sabji is something which tempts me. Then there are interesting delicacies like Kheer Sangri, one of the most popular vegetable dishes in Rajasthan, and one of my favorites whenever I visit Rajasthan. I love to have Kheer Sangri. It's prepared with the berries of the khejri trees and sangri beans, which are soaked in mustard oil with red chili and raw mango. Well, with so many delicacies, Rajasthan has so much to offer to all of us. Truly an interesting place of tourist interest as well as other visitors or travelers who are traveling to this part of country, India. Well, kadhi, gujia, dal bati churma, so many things that mesmerize me, that tempts me. So, with this, we have a renowned person with us who is here with us on board today, Mr. Priyadarshan Lakhawat. Lakhawat Sahab is an amazing human being, a man of intellect, and a person who has been serving India through hospitality and tourism education. A person who has many laurels to his credit, presently principal of IHM Jaipur, a central institute under Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Lakhawat is a qualified learning facilitator, a certified hospitality educator from American Hotel and Lodging Association, USA. He has done DTS and DOT programs from Department of Personnel and Training, Government of India. He is two-time national award winner for the Best Teacher Award in Hospitality Education from Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. Friends, as I stated, he has many laurels to his credit. He has also been awarded as Best Employee Award from Oberoi Hotels, India, and has also been a recipient of Indian Hospitality Educators Award. So there is so much to talk about Mr. Lakhawat and cuisine of Rajasthan today. It would be more apt to listen to the words of wisdom from Mr. Lakhawat on this journey of food to Rajasthan. I welcome him with folded hands and humbled and honored to have him on this series of MD University Rohtak. I'm delighted to share that the university has a patronage in this Food of India series through Director Career Counseling and Placement Cell, Professor Sumit Gill, because we believe that this series would be helpful to not merely nurture young minds through this live session, but also ignite and help the learners to know about cuisines, customs, traditions of Rajasthan in a long run through the recorded version on our YouTube channel. So, with these few words, I welcome Mr. Lakhawat and seek his permission to share my screen for the presentation so that we can go ahead with his presentation before he comes on this virtual platform for interacting with you and talking with you on cuisine of Rajasthan. Let me also mention, friends, that this series is getting a very warm response from across the world. We have chef on board from USA who is passionate for cuisine of Rajasthan. He is an alumnus of IHM Jaipur. We have people from Pan India who have joined us. So we also welcome Chef Ritu from Maharashtra, who has also been a distinguished speaker in our series and as a passionate chef and a student of hospitality and tourism. Besides this, we have Chef Sakesh from Jharkhand, who has joined us today in this journey of food of India. And now, without taking much time, I share my screen and welcome on board Mr. PD Lakhawat. I believe my screen is visible to you all. And over to Mr. Lakhawat. I'm muting myself and requesting Mr. Lakhawat to kindly unmute him. And we start with the journey of food of India. Namaskar. Enjoy your journey of food of India to Rajasthan.
Thank you very much, Professor Daya. First of all, let me thank you and MD University for inviting me to be a part of this wonderful endeavor. And particularly, I'll congratulate the university for having this kind of a thought, this kind of a vision, that states of India and the food of these states needs to be properly documented. And here, before I start, I must say that this is something where we are lacking as academicians and as practitioners. The history of food, the heritage of food, the influences on our food have not been properly documented and recorded. And that is the one place where, as academicians and as industry practitioners, we have a challenge and we have a responsibility. MDU and Professor Daya are fulfilling a part of that responsibility. My congratulations to you, sir, for that. With this, I start my talk about Rajasthan, a culinary voyage. Now, when we talk about Rajasthan, there are several images which come to your mind or which comes to somebody's mind. Rajasthan never leaves you unimpressed. I'm very sure about this one part, because when you come here, it takes you like a storm. It takes you like a desert storm, probably, with a lot of power, with a lot of impact. And here, I have some images which I'm going to play for you. Before that, just take, let's say, 5-7 seconds of time, and all of you think, what is your one defining image of Rajasthan? So when I say that, what is your associative image of Rajasthan? So let's say when one thinks Agra, one thinks Taj. When one thinks Haridwar, one thinks Ganga. So like that, when you think Rajasthan, there must be some one image which must be occurring to you. 5 seconds for that. And now, Professor Daya, I'll request you. I have these 6 images here. One by one, we'll have a look at them. So this is the Golden Thar Desert, one of the very associative, very strong images of this state. Next. This fort of Chittorgarh, and I'm sure all of you must be familiar with the valor and the sacrifice and the the stories of bravery that are associated with this fort. This is third image, a very, very powerful image. Maharana Pratap on his horse Chetak and his legendary spear in his hand. So this is the third associative image. Fourth, this is a person. And Rajasthan, I'll tell you, is still very, very culturally rooted. So this image or this picture is not for a photo op purpose. You go to Rajasthan, you go to towns, you go to villages, even some parts of the cities, you'll still find people who wear their traditional costumes, who wear them with pride. So this is one image of a person who is very colorfully attired and who is looking a very upright Rajasthani as one expects him to be. Now this is a dance image. This is Kalbelia dance. So there are various dance and folk forms which are there in Rajasthan. Kalbelia dance is one of the very popular ones. So when you think of Rajasthan, one associative image is the dance and the folk music and the instruments which are played over there. And now here I go. This is Dal Bati Churma. So Dal Bati Churma is a very, very strong associative image of Rajasthan. So when you think of Rajasthan, Dal Bati Churma is something which comes to your mind. Having said that, Rajasthan cuisine is not just about Dal Bati Churma. It's a very strong, very varied, very rich culinary heritage. And in this session, we are going to discuss about this culinary heritage of Rajasthan. And I'll also mention here that in this kind of time span, we cannot exactly discuss recipes and preparations. What I'll prefer it to be is more of an overview of Rajasthan cuisine. And we'll also be talking about Rajasthan and its people, because no cuisine is complete without a discussion about its people and without a discussion about its topography, geography, climate. So these are all things which are directly associated with cuisines. So that will be one part of our discussion. And the other part of our discussion will be, of course, what we are going to talk about is the food. So right now, what we were discussing, that when we talk about Rajasthan, there is not just one thing that comes to your mind. And this tells us what a vibrant state it is. So when you talk about Rajasthan, you talk about the vibrant colors, the rugged terrain, the fearless warriors, the very, very strong history and heritage of this place, the art and the culture, the magnificent architecture. So right now, we have seen an image of Fort of Chittorgarh. And there is an old saying that Gad to Chittorgarh, baki sab gadhaiyan. So that is the kind of pride that is associated with the Fort of Chittorgarh. But then there are many other beautiful forts in Rajasthan, like Kumbhalgarh, I'll name one, and Nahargarh and Mehrangarh. So these are very strong forts, citadels of pride, and also some very beautiful palaces, some very beautiful havelis. Today, some of the heritage hotels, they are palaces of excellent architectural heritage, like for example, Umaid Bhawan and Rambagh Palace, Jai Mahal Palace, Lake Palace, several of them. Then the delectable cuisine of Rajasthan, which of course is going to be a part of our discussion today. And one thing which I don't know we generally associate with Rajasthan or not, but we should, is this state is synonym with sacrifice. And if you talk about the heroes of Rajasthan, they are primarily, we are talking about the sacrifices which they made at the cost of their personal life, at the cost of their personal happiness, at the cost of their family lives, or or all other kind of comforts that we think about. They sacrificed all of it, and in fact, the supreme sacrifice is the sacrifice of life, which several of these heroes they have done. We have just seen an image of Maharana Pratap, who is an epitome of sacrifice and pride. Then the story of Panna Dhai, or the story of Mirabai, or the various other heroes and heroines which this state has produced. This brings me to a statement by Colonel James Todd, who was a renowned British historian. And he says, and this sums up the place, its history. Colonel Todd says there is no such state in Rajasthan, because you see, there was a time when Rajasthan was also divided into small states, princely states, as the case in the entire country was. So this was the context. So there is no such state in Rajasthan that does not have a battlefield, just like Thermopylae. And there is no such town which has not produced a brave just like Leonidas. I'm sure you are familiar with Thermopylae, which is a small mountain, narrow mountain pass in Greece, and this famous before Christ battle of Persia and Greece, where Leonidas at Thermopylae defended Greece with a very small force. They were completely outnumbered by Persia, but they held on for 3 days. And then when Leonidas actually went down fighting, it inspired Greece so much that after 1 year they were able to capture their land and repel Persians. And Haldi Ghati is India's Thermopylae. So with this, now we move to with this small what I'll say overview of Rajasthan. I'll talk about some of the facts, brief facts of Rajasthan. The area of Rajasthan is 342,000 square kilometers, and this is the largest state in the country. In fact, more than 10% of the land of India is in Rajasthan, 10.4 to be precise. The population today is approximately 8 crores. We have neighboring states, Punjab, Haryana, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, and Uttar Pradesh. And why it is important to mention this point over here, that Rajasthan's cuisine and the cuisines of these states are influenced by each other in many ways. So you find influences. Like, for example, Kadhi. Kadhi, it is said, is originated in Rajasthan, or what is today's Pakistan, which was at that time neighboring part of the Rajasthan. However, it traveled to different parts, and there are variations. Punjabi Kadhi is a variant of Kadhi. Haryana Kadhi is prepared slightly in a different manner, which is a variant. Gujarati Kadhi is different, and Rajasthani Kadhi is different. So like that, these neighboring states always will have influences on the cuisine of each other, which we need to understand. International border we share with Pakistan, and the major cities of Rajasthan are Jaipur, Jodhpur, Ajmer, Kota, and Bikaner. And for academic interest, these are the 9 official regions in Rajasthan, and this also shows that Rajasthan, in terms of its diversity, is a country in itself. So when we talk about Rajasthani language, it is not just one language. We may call them dialects, but they in themselves are very rich cultural heritages. When we talk about food, each region has its own variations because they are geographical variations. So Mewar and Marwar has nothing in common in terms of the topography and the geography and the flora and the fauna. So therefore, the cuisine cannot be the same. So those variations will be there. Shekhawati is an altogether entirely different region. So like that, these variations also we find. And moving on. Now from here, we talk about the cuisine of Rajasthan and what are the characteristics. So if I take 5 of them, they will be simplicity, healthy, balance, spicy, and the uses of oil and ghee. We'll have a very small look at each one of them. So when I say simplicity, the Rajasthan and the Rajasthanis are known to be very simple people. The whole point is, the life is tough over here. When you are in desert, and a part of Rajasthan is desert, life, of course, is going to be very tough. If you are in other parts of Rajasthan, like for example, even Mewar is a hilly terrain. Again, it has its own challenges. There are areas where rainfall is scant. Then, over a period of 1,000 years, this land has battered continuous invaders. Continuous battles have been there. So, because of all these aspects, what has happened that what French call joie de vivre, in Hindi what we call jijivisha, a desire to live and a desire to live happily, and not looking at the adversities which are stopping you from being happy. So this is something which is a part of the DNA and the genes of this state, and this is something which brings simplicity and humility, and this reflects in the food of this state as well. So traditionally speaking, and when we say traditionally speaking, I make a very interesting note over here, which has often fascinated me whenever we talk about cuisine in general. What I observe, that when we say cuisine, we talk about the food of the kings. We never talk about the food of the common people. And ladies and gentlemen, these are two different paradigms. Even today, what king eats is different from what a common man eats. And king today may be in the terms of corporate honchos and all other people who are very influential. So similarly, at one point of time, if I say Mughlai cuisine, which of course is a very rich cuisine, we are talking about the cuisine of the palaces. We are not talking about the cuisine of the people who during Mughal era, what they used to eat. So that's a different perspective. Well, they were actually 99.9% of the people. And they were not having those kind of elaborate spreads which we associate Mughlai cuisine with, or the rich gravies, or the uses of dry fruit. So that was not the case. So, however, generally speaking, when we talk about history, history is of the royalty. This context needs to be changed in terms of cuisine in particular. And when we say cuisine of Rajasthan, simplicity is its hallmark. You look at dal bati itself. What a simple preparation. They are not even rolling the dough. They're simply making balls of it. And in what we call uplas, that cow dung cakes, in that it is directly cooked. And there is a very simple dal to go along with it. And that is dal bati. Churma is when that bati actually used to be there as a leftover, next day churma was prepared. Now this is, of course, now today we are looking at it as a combination, but that was an optimum uses of leftover food by the housewives. You talk about a preparation we call khichda, bajre ka khich, a very wholesome meal. It's kind of a gruel of bajra, but very simple. Kadhi we are talking about, again, is a very, very simple food. Bajre ki roti or makai ki roti in Mewar, makki ki roti, it's very simple food. So like that, simplicity, optimum uses of ingredients which are in scarce supply is one of the characteristics of this food, and that brings us to the first point, that is simplicity. The second point is about the healthy. So what is simple is usually healthy as well. What is complex may be unhealthy because the nature has not made us to live a complex life. So therefore, most of these Rajasthani food items that we talk about, because the ingredients are locally sourced, because of the fact that villagers in particular, and this is a state which is primarily an agronomy. So villagers tend to eat food which is as per the requirements of the climate and as per the requirements of the nature. So therefore it is healthy as well. And a lot of uses of buttermilk, you will see a lot of uses of onions because of the heat condition. Uses of spices as well is because of the heat conditions only. But fresh ground spices, minimum of these spices in terms of the food of commoners. And so therefore health is what we say is the next point, which is a characteristic. The balance of the meal, again balance in several factors. You see, balance first of all is in terms of nutrition. So when we talk about protein and when we talk about carbohydrates and when we talk about fats, optimum in an optimum situation there has to be a balance. So if you look at, let's say, dal bati churma only we were talking about, it is what a balanced meal. Bati, so let's say carbohydrates, dal, proteins, churma, the optimum fat that you require. So this is an example of how balanced this cuisine is. And in terms of balance, we will also see that Rajasthanis eat not just two meals. There is a concept of early morning kaleva, that is a breakfast. Then at 10, 11 in the fields, they'll eat something which they carry along with them. Then afternoon, what they call dupehari. So around 2 o'clock, they'll come back, 1:30 or 2, when the sun starts getting very scorching. And at home, they'll have that kind of a dupehari. Evening, 4, 5, around 4, 5, they'll have a small meal, and then they'll go back out again for the activity, this time particularly related to kettles. And then come back and have an early dinner. And which doesn't mean that they are filling their tummies all the time. They're small meals. They're small, healthy meals which we see in all these villages and in the traditional life. So that brings balance. The nutritional balance is there. The balance of taste is there. The spice and the sweet. So you associate Rajasthan with these two things, with the sweets and with the spices. So that is the balance. So all these kinds of balances you find in a food. And I must say that all over India, in our entire country, these are the features which you find in different ways, although. So Rajasthan has its own way of balancing and giving a healthy life and being simple in terms of its cuisine. Spicy, of course, although it is also the need of the climate and the need of the geography, but the food is spicy, particularly for a palate which is not used to spicy food. And uses of oil, ghee. There's one more reason why oil and ghee is used in abundance in Rajasthan, that also to increase the shelf life of the food and to reduce the perishability, because the climate is usually hot. And refrigerators and these are modern concepts, and they are not the concepts which are associated with our cuisines. So we have developed ways where we preserve our food for a relatively longer period of time, and putting more of oil and more of ghee is one of those ways. So these are the characteristic features today we associate Rajasthan with. And in the next slide, we talk about the influences. Now, first of all, what are the climatic influences? So if you look at Rajasthan, desert, the Registan, and desert has a climate which is in extremes. In summers, you may find it going above 50, 53, 54 is the temperature which it may reach. And in winters, at the same place, the temperature is 0. So that is the range, 0 to 55, which a person will experience in 1 year. And then his body needs to be hardened to face that kind of an extreme weather condition. This climate will have second factor, the desert climate. And what is that? The factor that there is a scarcity of fresh vegetables, for example. So you see that in cuisine of Rajasthan, particularly the Marwadi cuisine. And Marwadi cuisine is a very, very important influence when we talk about Rajasthan. And when we say Marwadi, it is the cuisine of desert of a community that is Marwadi. And in desert, there are other communities as well, which is Marwad. So there may be some difference in terms of vegetarian and non-vegetarian food habits and etc. But more or less in terms of the climatic influence, we will find that uses of fresh vegetables is very limited because they were not available. So where can you think of preparations like papad ki saag or mangodi ki saag, which is lentil flour, and then we make dried dumplings out of them, and rabodi ki saag, and then gatte ki saag, as Professor Daya was just saying. So it is a delicacy, but it has come out, it has developed or evolved because of the fact that there were no fresh vegetables available. And there are so many variations of dal. So these are all influences or compulsions of climatic factors, but such talented chefs, housewives or professional chefs in Marwad, that in spite of the fact that these scarcities were there, they developed a cuisine which is internationally renowned today. Like, for example, tomatoes were not there. So that was a problem, that was an issue. So in absence of tomatoes, we also find kachri being used as a souring agent. We see hing, because in Marwadi cuisine, because of the religious and customary reasons, onions and garlic may not be, is not eaten. So hing is something which will give that flavor. Amchur is abundantly used because of this fact that for khatai you need something if you're not using tomatoes, or tamarind is used. So these are all climatic influences. And the other climatic influence we were just talking about was the excessive use of spices and excessive, not excessive, but relatively high use of oil and ghee. So this helps your body to perspire and to keep you cool during summers and to keep you warm during winters. The third very important influence is the royal influence. Because today, when we talk about Lal Mas, and I'm going to talk about Lal Mas in the next slide, or we talk about different non-vegetarian delicacies, Safed Mas, as Professor Daya was just mentioning, and some kebabs and some other very, very exotic preparations which come from Rajasthan. These are primarily influences of the royal houses, where they have these khansamas and they experimented continuously with food. And even the kings, they gave a lot of patronage. The Jagirdars, the kings, they were themselves very passionate cooks. And they used to take very active interest. And there was a very, very clear concept of a Mardana kitchen and a Zanana kitchen. And non-vegetarian food was usually handled by Mardana kitchen, be it the khansamas or be it the house owner himself. So these royal influences on the cuisine of Rajasthan today, as we see it, are again very strong. And then there are external influences which are bound to be there in any cuisine, because all communities and all societies are very dynamic in terms of the influences they get. So Muslim influences are, of course, there in Rajasthan cuisine. There was a considerable time period in medieval history when most of the states of Rajasthan, they had very friendly relations with Delhi, with the Sultanate or with Mughals. And that resulted in a lot of interaction, cultural interaction and food interaction, cuisine interaction, which influenced Rajput cuisine or the royal cuisine of Rajasthan in terms of the non-vegetarian delicacies in particular. Then we move to the next slide. Now, this is what I was talking about. I will here we will discuss a bit about the non-vegetarian fare and the vegetarian fare and the sweets in three of our next slides. And this is going to be our agenda for the day. Now, in non-vegetarian cuisine, I am restricting myself to mutton for the time being, which does not mean that Rajasthan cuisine is just mas or mutton. There was, in fact, the Rajasthan cuisine, the Rajput cuisine. Now, if we are talking about the non-vegetarian fare, it was primarily a game-based cooking. The concept of shikar was very strong, which used to keep all these warriors active, and it helped them to hone their skills of warfare. And it was also an entertainment and social bonding activity. So this game was cooked usually in the forests, or it was taken back and cooked in villages or towns or in the Havelis. So that is where this cuisine has developed. And later on, when in modern times, when actually hunting is neither permissible nor possible, so it is the lamb or the goat which has taken that position, and that is what we call mas today. But otherwise, having said that, it was also the game. Fish, because of the water scarcity, is not a very popular item in Rajasthani cuisine. Mewar and some other regions, of course, have some very beautiful lakes, and their fish is found and fish is eaten. Having said that, primarily it is a cuisine which is lamb-based. It is the mutton or the mas that we talk about. Now, there is this lal mas, a preparation which has acquired a cult status today and international recognition. I want to have a small discussion about this item, because you see there are these four preparations listed: lal mas, safed mas, kachar mas, and jangli mas. Now, I'll share with you how it all developed. These are not the cuisines which actually developed in what we call royal kitchens per se. They all developed during hunting expeditions. And how it developed, like, for example, now when we talk about jangli mas, when these hunting expeditions, they used to go to the forests, initially, that is before the hunt, the food that was prepared was jangli mas. And why we call it jangli mas? Because the ingredients which are used are very, very basic in nature, and they are not processed. So whole khada masalas, few of them only, and whole red chili, curd, because curd was locally available everywhere in tiny hamlets, and the mutton, everything was put together and cooked, and that was jangli mas. And the idea was, it may not sound very attractive and very romantic today, but the idea was that the major feast should be after the hunt, and therefore this food should be so basic that it does not empower or overpower the feast that we are going to have in the evening after the hunt. So it was kept very, very basic. And the concept actually was not the fact that they did not have ingredients, because someone who can carry an entire expedition for hunting can also carry ingredients. But the idea itself was to keep it very simple. So that this is how jangli mas originated, but later on it developed in terms of its culinary delight, and it was experimented. And today, even in five-star hotels, you find it either by the name of jangli mas or by the name of banjara mas. And the romanticism associated is with the fact that you are in a forest and you have very, very limited ingredients available with you, and you put everything together in a handi, and you just keep on checking it in between, and you are bonding in male company, having a drink or two. So that this is how you associate jangli mas with. So from the jangli mas, the lal mas actually evolved. And how it evolved was because of the fact that these royal khansamas, when they go back to the royal kitchens, and jangli mas is something for which the king and the entire hunting party and the jagirdars, zamindars, all these people, the royals, they have developed a liking for that taste, but now they want an evolved version of that. So now chef needs to experiment. And then lal mas is a very, very rich preparation in which this what we call mathania mirchi is used, which gives red color, bright fairy red this mirchi is. And there is a balance with yogurt or the curd. And the food exactly is not as spicy as today's many of the restaurants serve it to be. It has a taste which is spicy in the beginning, but towards the end, it gives a creamy or sweetish kind of flavor and texture. Safed mas is an influence of Mughlai and the later colonial period. Lal mas has a 1,000-year-old history, 1,000-year-old history. Safed mas has a 200-year-old history. So it is basically because over a period of time, when you keep on eating the same thing, you get bored out of it and you want an exact opposite of that. And then you see that these Britishers, the stews that they eat and the kormas which the Mughals are eating, so you want some kind of a blend from there, and you have Safed mas. There's also a story that Safed mas was for Janana kitchens and Lal mas was for Mardana kitchen, which is probably not true, because everyone has a palate for Lal mas and Safed mas, both depending upon the day. Kachar mas developed in Jodhpur, again in royal household. Maharaja Gat Singh Ji, who is the current erstwhile ruler of Jodhpur, he himself is a very passionate patroness of food, and in his kitchen or in the kitchen of his ancestors, this kachar mas developed. Kachar is a word which comes from kachri, and kachri basically is a berry which we find in a creeper. It can be dried or it can be used otherwise as well. It's a very good souring agent, and more importantly, it's a very good tenderizing agent. So this mutton, which is prepared with kachri and prepared for 4 to 6 hours and gives a very creamy kind of texture and flavor. So that is what kachri mas is. Mohan mas is something in which a lot of cream is used. Mas ki kadhi is a variant which actually is a kadhi type of gravy in which mutton is prepared. And mas ke sule are kebabs on the skewers with a marination which is very unique to Rajasthan. So you cannot actually equate it to the Afghani kebabs or the kebabs of Persia on skewers. And mas makai ka soveta, which is known as makai ka soveta only, is are the corns and the mutton which is prepared together. So this is a preparation which is relatively closer to halim, but has a very distinct taste of its own. So this is how we look at the non-vegetarian fare, and this is, generally speaking, this is the Rajput cuisine, which developed in the royal households and at the places of commoners as well. And Rajasthanis are fond of their non-veg food, those who eat non-veg. And also the fact that the goat in Rajasthan is very good for mutton preparations, considering the desert conditions and considering the fact that goat has to actually earn his or her own food from all these shrubs. So the goat has to lift the neck and eat from the shrubs, which gives a lot of exercise to the neck part. And therefore, even in Hyderabadi biryani, it is the best of Hyderabadi biryani. These are the goats which are exported, if you use the word, which go from Rajasthan and to the Hyderabad, and that is what is the preferred one. Coming to the vegetarian fare, I'll tell you, and I'll tell you with a lot of conviction, that there is no richer vegetarian cuisine anywhere in India when you compare it with Rajasthan. And as a matter of fact, in an official survey which Government of India an agency of Government of India, conducted in the year 2014, Rajasthan is India's largest vegetarian state, with about 74% of its population being vegetarian. And the other states which were classified as vegetarian, dominant vegetarian for the purpose of academic interest, were Haryana, Punjab, Madhya Pradesh, and Gujarat, other than Rajasthan. But Rajasthan is the biggest vegetarian state in the country. And it has a very, very rich, very varied, very diverse vegetarian menu fare. In fact, list is such long that even if we conduct 20 webinars of this nature, it is not possible to cover the vegetarian fare of Rajasthan, and a very distinct cuisine. The major influences are Maheshwari community, which are a Marwadi community, the Jains, and otherwise also the Bishnois, and otherwise also the villagers in Rajasthan primarily are vegetarians. Even those who are non-vegetarians are not everyday non-vegetarians. Okay, so for them, non-veg food comes as an occasional food, as a feast food, but it is usually the vegetarian fare which is consumed and which is liked. So we were talking about dal bati churma. There are folklores and legends associated with bati, that when the warriors, when in desert, when they used to go on an expedition, they used to make these balls and bury them in the sand, and when they were coming back, this was their ration because it gets cooked in the meantime. I'm not sure how correct is that, but that is a part of the folklore. Historians have their difference of opinion. And historically, it is believed that bati was more of a community food initially. Like in Punjab, you had this concept of Sanjha Chulha, where rotis were prepared in a community, what you call tandoor, which was for the mohalla or for at least a few households together. So similarly, batis was more of a community affair, because you have all these cow dung cakes, the chanas or the uplas, what we call them, and you put a lot of these batis in them, and the ladies of the house together, they keep a track of the cooking of these batis, and later on, of course, it shifted to the individual households, but the basic nature of it remained the same. And a lot of ghee which goes into it. The fact that it can be preserved for long, because the water content in bati is relatively less. So all these factors added to the fact that in this kind of terrain, this was going to be an ideal food. Gatte ki saag, as we were discussing today, there are more than 20 variations of gatte ki saag. And besan, in fact, is an ingredient which is used very, very widely in Rajasthan. There are 10 to 12 different types of curry preparations and dry preparations which are of besan. And in gatta itself, there are so many variations. Nowadays there are a lot of bharwa gattas which are given, and pithodas are there, and patod is there, and all these kind of what we call besan. Besan ki chakki is also a preparation that is very popular in Rajasthan. So they use besan in a lot of forms, and gatte ki saag is one of the signature preparations because of the amazing combination of flavors which it produces in terms of the yogurt, and in terms of the besan ka gatta itself, and in terms of the oil that is used, and the spices which are used, which are very unique to this preparation. Kher sangri initially was a compulsion food in desert. There was a scarcity of water, of course. There were famines which were very regular, and the produce was very limited. So sangri, as Professor Daya was also mentioning, comes from a tree khejdi, which is the state tree of Rajasthan. So these are beans over there, and kher are berries, and these are dried together. They can be kept in a raw form for years, and in a prepared form for weeks. It is more like it is somewhere between what we call an achar and a sabji. So Maheshwaris call it Panchkuta in Rajasthan, and Kher Sangri again is a signature preparation of Rajasthan, which today five-star hotels have also adopted, and it is a widely liked and relished preparation. Then we have preparations like raab. We were talking about simplicity. This is in a liquid form. We make bajre ki raab. We also make makki ki raab. Okay, so it is kind of a soup, you may call it if you want to, but it's a wholesome meal. Then makki ki ghat, which is more like a namkeen halwa of makki. Then sags, as we were mentioning, mangodi, rabodi, papad, khich or the khichda I was mentioning. So these are some of the parts of vegetarian fare. Other than that, over here adding, because Professor Daya reminded me in the beginning that this is monsoon, and for snacks, there is no place better than Rajasthan and no place better than Jodhpur. So mirchi ka bada, when you talk about it, when you talk about different types of these snacks items, different types of pakoda items, items in sweets like Vawe ki kachori, which is again very, very popular in Jodhpur. So for snacks, and Rajasthanis are fond of their food, and at one point of time, the life was tough. There was so much of hard work that they were able to digest all that food as well. So therefore, you find this kind of a variety. And now I come to the last part of it, that is the sweet, and I have kept it as the last thing because of the reason that it is like a cherry on the cake when you talk about cuisine of Rajasthan. And sweet here is not the traditional dessert concept because it is not given at the end of the food. It is given before the food, during the food, and after the food. We eat sweets all the time. And there are cities, not the state, which have their specialties. So we have gulab halwa, specialty from Pali, Tilpatti of Byawar, very, very well known, Ghevar in Jaipur, and this is the season. You come here, you enjoy Ghevar. Mawa Kachori from Jodhpur, Rasgulla from Bikaner, Kalakand, those milk cakes from Alwar, Diljani from Udaipur. It's a relatively lesser known sweet, but again, you go to Udaipur, you ask for it, you'll relish it. These are like bundis. You have bundi laddu, so large sized independent bundis, however, filled with orange juice. So that is Diljani. And Balushahi, of course, is popular in the entire northern India, but Rajasthan, Balushahi is a specialty. Besan ki chakki, as we were discussing, moong dal halwa, no Rajasthani marriage is complete unless moong dal halwa is served in it. And floating in ghee, floating in desi ghee, moong dal halwa. So these are the sweets, and Rajasthanis, they do have a sweet palate. Also, the fact that milk could not be preserved for long because of the same climatic conditions that we are talking about. So an alternative use of milk or mawa has to come. So this is also one reason that the cuisine pertaining to sweet also developed very well simultaneously along with vegetarian and non-vegetarian food. So as a whole, if I sum up now, Jimosa, of course, is an expression like Padarosa. So come and respectfully, when I say that come and eat, that is Jimosa. And finally, I'll sum up. And when I say summing up, it is extremely difficult to give an overview or to sum up Rajasthan's cuisine. Having said that, we basically, when we talk about Rajasthan, it is a large state with a lot of geographical diversity. So Mewar is the hilly region which has entirely different terrain and flora fauna. Hadoti is the region which is like a tabletop, and rivers crisscrossing through this region. Shekhawati is a region which is again very different and a very different kind of vegetation. Marwar or the desert gives Rajasthan its own very distinct image. But Rajasthan as a whole has a lot of diversity. It has everything other than sea and snow. So if you come to Rajasthan, you'll find everything as a tourist. So accordingly, the cuisine of Rajasthan is also very, very varied, and in different parts of the state, you find different kinds of food. And over a period of time, it has blended, and regional influences are there, but it has come up as one cuisine, that is Rajasthani cuisine. And because of a lot of tourist influx into Rajasthan. The cuisine has traveled abroad, and internationally today, some of its preparations are very well known. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Daya, for having me here and giving me this opportunity.
Indeed, a pleasure to have you on board, sir. And believe me, this culinary voyage to Rajasthan has not merely tantalized our taste buds, but also motivated us to travel to Rajasthan and explore these culinary delights. Well, friends, amazing and incredible information Mr. Lakhawat has shared with us, I must say and compliment him. With his words of wisdom and he being escorting us to the culinary voyage of Rajasthan, we could learn that there are cooked foods in Rajasthan, which includes cooking that is underground, that is spit, that is roasted, that is fried. Well, there are different types of foods in Rajasthan, varying from cultural diversity to geographical diversity, to the cuisine of royal, to the cuisine of a common man. When we talk about cuisine of Rajasthan, the different aspects of non-vegetarian food, vegetarian food, and desserts have been covered very interestingly by Mr. Lakhawat. That's the beauty of motherland India, that you see kesar, which is produced in Kashmir and popularly consumed in almost all sweets of Rajasthan or other parts of India. How amazing and incredible is our motherland India. Friends, when we talk about hospitality and tourism, और लाखावत साहब तो मारवाड़ियों की बात कर रहे थे जो कि व्यापारी कम्युनिटी होती है, और जब बात मारवाड़ियों की हो और व्यापार की ना हो तो बात अधूरी है। तो जब आप बात करते हैं राजस्थान की और आप विश्व के किसी भी कोने में चले जाएं तो आपको सहज ही हल्दीराम की नमकीन या हल्दीराम की विभिन्न पैक्ड या अलग अलग तरह के फूड्स जो हैं वो आसानी से मिल जाएंगे। 1937 में बीकानेर से शुरुआत हुई यह हिंदुस्तानी फूड चेन आज विश्व भर में अपना परचम लहरा रही है। And when we talk about Rajasthan, how can we forget Bikaner Wala? That reminds me that in 1950 from Bikaner, when the journey started, how an interesting, amazing Indian food chain has brought laurels to the food of country and Rajasthan in particular. And a very interesting question comes that what makes that Bikaneri bhujia so tasty? I'm sure Lakhawat Saab has kept his secret treasured, but sir, with all due regards, we are disclosing it. So that includes mot ki dal that makes a Bikaneri bhujia so tantalizing, crisp, and preferred by many people. Well, we could learn that Rajasthan is not merely a large state in India, but also has contributions to the development of motherland India. Simultaneously, a perception which common people have that having a lot of non-vegetarian delicacies, Rajasthan is a non-vegetarian state. Lakhawat Saab shared that the survey conducted by Government of India again came up with very interesting piece of information that more than 70% of population of Rajasthan is vegetarian. And when you are traveling to Rajasthan, tantalizing your taste buds with lassi of Jodhpur and mirchi vada and passing to the galleries of Udaipur, tantalizing with different delicacies there and moving to Pink City, each part of Rajasthan has something unique to offer to each one of us. So with this, I express my gratitudes on behalf of Maharishi Dayanand University, Rohtak, our university administration, and expressing special thanks on behalf of Professor Sumit Gill, the Director of Career Counseling and Placement Cell, who has been supportive to help us to organize this series, and Dr. Sandeep Malik, Director of IHTM, who is also an alumnus of IHM Jaipur, for having Mr. P.D. Lakhawat invited on board on this Food of India series on virtual platform of MDU. I am grateful to Mr. P.D. Lakhawat. I formally take this opportunity to express my gratitude to Lakhawat Sahab for joining us as a distinguished speaker in this series of Food of India organized by Institute of Hotel and Tourism Management, Maharishi Dayanand University, Rohtak. I am delighted to share with you that, sir, the participants hailing across the states of India are greatly enthused with your session. The kind of response I'm getting into the chat box is indeed amazing. You have given valuable insights to the cuisine and people and lifestyle of Rajasthan, which no doubt has helped the learners in their journey of learning food through different cuisines, cultures, and customs through this Food of India series. We are humbled, honored, and thankful to you. We are hopeful that we'll continue to get your constant support in times to come as well. Namaskar.
Thank you very much.